Hi there. This video is very similar to the last one, except in this one I'm going to show the takedown of this 460 Rowland with a solid guide rod and how that's done in a pretty easy fashion. This again is the 460 Rowland I'm talking about. It's a Kimber Custom TLE II with a Custom 460 Rowland conversion. That conversion kit typically consists of the barrel, the compensator, a 24-pound and a 20-pound recoil spring, and a higher strength firing pin spring. I got rid of the Custom two-piece guide rod and substituted in an EGW one-piece tungsten guide rod. I felt that I like this one-piece guide rod, and it makes takedown for me a little bit easier. So, to take this thing down, first thing, verify that it is in fact empty. Lock back the slide. And now I have to capture these takedown pins in the holes in the guide rod. The EGW tungsten guide rod has a pair of holes in it. Unfortunately, those holes actually fall behind the dust cover. So I had to shorten the takedown pins so that they would fit in between the dust cover and the guide rod. Typically, these tools go all the way through, and so they capture the guide rod bushing on both sides of the guide rod. Since I had to shorten them, I can no longer capture it on both sides of the guide rod, but since I'm a little bit afraid of that 24-pound spring, I made two of them, and I'm going to capture it from both sides. So first install one side, then the other. And now to make life a little bit easier, I put a twist tie around the two, because that twist tie will hold those takedown pins in place while I release the slide forward. Releasing the slide forward actually traps the takedown pins in the hole, because the guide rod bushing comes forward. And at this point I can slide the slide forward, remove the slide stop, remove the slide, slide the guide rod and the barrel back, remove the guide rod spring, guide rod bushing assembly, release the barrel bushing, remove the barrel. Now if you were only going to be taking it down far enough to say clean this much, that is the barrel bushing and the slide, you don't need to mess with the guide rod assembly. But if you want to use the guide rod assembly and clean it, you go back to my tool, which I talked about in the last video, which is simply a washer with a couple of slots, one on either side, to allow the takedown pins to pass through. Put that on. I usually give it a little bit of a rotate. Push down. Remove the takedown pins. Release the spring. Remove the guide rod bushing. Remove the spring. Take the guide rod out. There you are. If you wanted to change, if you're running a shock buffer, you could do that at this time as well. I have on here Wilson Combat shock buffer. Reassembly is just the opposite. Closed end of the spring goes onto the guide rod. Guide rod bushing. Note where the holes are. In this case, they're two sides. Begin pushing down the guide rod bushing using the washer as a tool. Once you get the guide rod through the end of the washer, or through the end of the guide rod bushing, that's when you can prepare to install this, because it does take a little bit of pressure to get that down there. You don't want to be holding it there any longer than you have to. Install one side. Install the second. Rotate spring, or rather the washer, so that the will come off past those two tools. Now insert the barrel, locking the barrel pushing up into the locked position as we go. Move the barrel all the way back to provide room for insertion of the guide rod assembly. Push the guide rod assembly up and into place. Now we need to get the barrel bushing properly aligned into place as well. It's most easily done by simply sliding the guide rod assembly all the way forward just to make sure everything aligns. You can see that the guide rod bushing is out and everything is in its appropriate location. Now we need to reinstall the frame onto the slide. Like so. Lock the slide back, remove the pins, release the slide, and